The video appeared in my inbox at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. No subject line. Just an attachment from my wife's email. I almost deleted it thinking it was another one of those home renovation ideas she'd been obsessing over since the accident. The lawsuit had given her something to focus on besides my shattered leg and the medical bills piling up like autumn leaves on our doorstep. I should have been sleeping, but pain has a way of keeping company with insomnia. 3 months since a delivery truck ran a red light and turned my life upside down, I was still adjusting to the titanium rods holding my left leg together. The doctors said I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky as I scrolled through emails on my phone, trying to distract myself from the throbbing. When I clicked play, I expected to see kitchen cabinets or bathroom tiles. What I saw instead was my wife, Amanda, naked on a leather couch I didn't recognize, with a man's hands running through her hair. Is he going to see this? Her voice was breathy, excited in a way I hadn't heard in months. Not a chance. He's too busy feeling sorry for himself to notice anything. The man's voice was familiar, too familiar. The camera angle shifted and I saw his face. James Whitfield, our attorney. The man who had spent the last 3 months in our living room promising to get us the settlement that would make everything right again. I watched for exactly 17 seconds before turning it off. 17 seconds was all it took to end a marriage of 8 years. Amanda and I met in college. Nothing exciting, just 2 biology majors who found themselves lab partners in organic chemistry. She had this way of biting her lower lip when she was concentrating, and I found myself making mistakes on purpose just to watch her solve them. By senior year, we were inseparable. By 25, we were married. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. I worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep, and Amanda taught high school science. We bought a small house in the suburbs with a yard just big enough for the dogs we planned to adopt and the kids we thought we'd have someday. Life was predictable, peaceful. Until a distracted truck driver plowed through an intersection while I was crossing on my way to lunch with a client. The impact shattered my femur in 3 places, fractured my pelvis, and ended my career in sales. You can't charm doctors into buying your company's newest miracle drug when you can't even climb the stairs to their offices. James Whitfield came highly recommended by Amanda's cousin. Best personal injury attorney in the state, she'd said. He'll make sure you're taken care of. He was tall, well-dressed, and confident to the point of arrogance. When we first met him, I remember thinking he looked more like a TV lawyer than a real one. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, manicured nails on the hands that shook mine firmly while promising justice. This is an open and shut case, he assured us during our first meeting. Driver was on his phone, ran a red light, multiple witnesses. The company will settle. He quoted a figure that made Amanda gasp. That should cover medical expenses, lost wages, pain, and suffering. You'll be set. Amanda trusted him immediately. I was more cautious, but pain and desperation make for poor judgment. We signed the paperwork that afternoon. James began visiting our home regularly to update us on the case. Always when I was there, always professional. He brought coffee sometimes or pastries from a bakery near his office. Amanda would laugh at his jokes, touch his arm occasionally. I noticed, but told myself I was being paranoid. She was just grateful for his help. The accident changed me. I'd always been active, hiking on weekends, playing basketball with friends, taking Amanda dancing. Suddenly, I was confined to our house, dependent on painkillers that left me foggy and irritable. Physical therapy was exhausting and humiliating. Progress was slow. Amanda was supportive at first. She took time off work to drive me to appointments, learned to change my bandages, slept on the couch beside my hospital bed when it was too painful for me to climb the stairs to our bedroom. But compassion fatigue is real. By month 2, her smiles seemed forced. She started going back to work, staying late for faculty meetings, making excuses to leave the house. I didn't blame her, I wasn't good company. It's just for a while, she assured me. Once the settlement comes through, we can hire proper help. You'll get better. Things will go back to normal. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Looking back, there were signs. James's visits gradually moved from evenings when we were both home to afternoons when I was usually napping. Amanda started dressing differently, nothing dramatic, just more makeup, more perfume. Her phone became a closely guarded possession. If I entered a room while she was texting, she'd quickly lock the screen. Just school stuff, she'd say, or just checking the case updates. The night before the video, we'd had our first real fight since the accident. I'd asked her to help me up the stairs. I was determined to sleep in our bed again, but she'd made an excuse about needing to prepare lessons. You could do that up here, I said, like you used to. I can't focus with you there, she snapped, then immediately looked guilty. I'm sorry, I have a lot on my plate right now. And I don't, the words came out harsher than I intended. That's not what I meant, it's just, she sighed. This isn't easy for either of us. I know that. I tried to soften my tone. I just miss you. I'm right here. Are you? She didn't answer, just kissed my forehead and went downstairs. I heard her making a phone call later, her voice too low to make out the words. And then at 3 a.m. the video arrived. I didn't confront her immediately. Some primal instinct told me to wait, to watch, to gather more information. So I forwarded the video to my personal email, deleted it from my inbox, and cleared my deleted items folder. Then I lay awake until morning, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing against my chest like a stone. Amanda kissed me goodbye as usual before leaving for work. James called last night, she said casually. He wants to meet this afternoon to discuss a potential settlement offer. Here, I kept my voice neutral. No, at his office, I'll go after school. She adjusted her blouse, a new one I hadn't seen before, dark blue silk that brought out her eyes. He thinks they're finally ready to pay up. That's great news, I said, wondering if she could hear the hollowness in my voice. It could change everything. She seemed nervous, fidgeting with her keys. I might be home late. Take your time. After she left, I dragged myself to the shower for the first time in days. The effort was excruciating, but I needed to clear my head. Under the hot water, I tried to make sense of what was happening, to formulate a plan. I could confront her with the video. I could call James's office and cancel the meeting. I could contact the ethics board and report him for sleeping with a client's spouse. Or I could do what every fiber of my being was screaming to do, pretend I'd never seen it, beg her not to leave me, promise to be the man I was before. Pride won out over desperation. I'd been humiliated enough. By noon, I'd made my decision. I called a locksmith and had our locks changed. I called our bank and moved half our savings to a new account in my name only. I called my brother, who lived 2 hours away, and asked if I could stay with him for a while. Everything okay, he asked. No, I said, but it will be. Then I called a different attorney, a woman whose name I found after an hour of research. Patricia Chen specialized in legal malpractice. Her secretary scheduled a consultation for the following morning. By 3 o'clock, I was packed, as much as I could manage with my limited mobility. Clothes, medications, important documents. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand. I was about to call an Uber when my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Meeting with James running late. Don't wait up for dinner. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it all. Instead, I texted back, no problem, take your time. Then I sent her the video. I waited 5 minutes, enough time for her to check her messages during a bathroom break or a lull in their meeting. Then I turned off my phone, knowing it would soon be exploding with calls and texts. I didn't want to hear her excuses or her apologies or her blame. I'd heard enough. The Uber driver helped me with my bags, asked no questions about my leg or why I was leaving with suitcases in the middle of the afternoon. I tipped him generously. My brother was waiting when we arrived, his face creased with concern. Jesus, Michael, what happened? I showed him the video. Just the first few seconds, enough to explain everything without subjecting him to the full humiliation. He swore, poured me a whiskey, and promised I could stay as long as I needed. She'll come looking for you here, he warned. I know, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I slept that night for the first time in months, a deep, dreamless sleep born of emotional exhaustion. When I woke, I turned on my phone to find 53 missed calls and 29 text messages from Amanda. I deleted them all without reading. The meeting with Patricia Chen was enlightening. She watched the video with clinical detachment, took notes, and explained my options. This is a clear conflict of interest and breach of professional ethics, she said. Mr. Whitfield has violated his fiduciary duty to you as a client. We can report him to the State Bar Association, which will likely result in disciplinary action. We can also use this as leverage in negotiating your settlement with the trucking company. What about my wife? I asked. Patricia looked at me with surprising compassion. That's a separate issue. Legally, her affair doesn't impact your case against the company or Mr. Whitfield. Personally, she hesitated. That's something only you can decide. I nodded, grateful for her directness. And the settlement. I'll take over your case immediately. We'll notify Mr. Whitfield's firm that they're no longer representing you. Given the circumstances, I don't anticipate they'll fight it. She named her fee substantial but fair. And I won't sleep with your wife, she added with a hint of a smile. I appreciated the attempt at humor. Deal. The first time Amanda showed up at my brother's house, I refused to see her. She sat in her car in the driveway for 6 hours, calling my phone continuously until the battery died. My brother went out once to tell her I wasn't coming out. He saw the video, Amanda, he said, his voice carrying through the open window. What did you expect? I need to explain, she pleaded. It's not what he thinks. It's exactly what he thinks, my brother replied. Go home. She returned the next day and the day after that. On the 4th day, I finally agreed to speak with her, not out of forgiveness, but because her constant presence was making it impossible for me to move forward with my plans. We sat at my brother's kitchen table. He made himself scarce, but I knew he was nearby, ready to intervene if needed. Amanda looked terrible, eyes red-rimmed, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes from the day before. You have 5 minutes, I said. She took a deep breath. I made a horrible mistake, the worst mistake of my life. That's not an explanation, that's a plea for sympathy. I know, she twisted her wedding ring, still on her finger, I noticed. I don't deserve sympathy, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I owe you the truth. Which is? It started about a month after your accident. James came by to drop off some paperwork while you were at physical therapy. He asked about you, about how I was coping. He listened, really listened, in a way that, she stopped, seeing my expression. That sounds like I'm making excuses. It does. The truth is, I was selfish. I was scared and overwhelmed and feeling sorry for myself, and he was there offering attention and an escape. It wasn't about love or even desire, really. It was about not feeling like a caretaker for a few hours. The clinical honesty of her admission hurt more than any tearful confession could have. And that justifies betraying me when I needed you most. Nothing justifies it, nothing. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I hate myself for what I did to you. I hate myself for being so weak. How long? 6 weeks. And the video, she looked down at her hands, his idea, I was stupid enough to go along with it. Did you talk about me during your meetings? Her silence was answer enough. Get out, I said quietly. Michael, please, get out. My voice remained steady, but something in my face must have frightened her because she stood quickly, knocking over her chair. I'll always love you, she said from the doorway, whether you believe that or not. I didn't respond. After she left, my brother came back in, wordlessly handed me a glass of whiskey and sat across from me. You okay? No, I said honestly, but I will be, he nodded. That's my brother, tough son of a bitch. I forced a smile, though it felt more like a grimace. Not tough enough to keep my wife, apparently. That's not about toughness, that's about her being he stopped himself. Sorry, not helpful. It's fine, say what you want about her. He shook his head. Nah, she's still your wife. If anyone gets to trash her, it's you. I appreciated his restraint, though I wasn't feeling particularly restrained myself. In the days that followed, I cycled through rage, despair, and a cold determination to ensure both Amanda and James paid for their betrayal. Patricia Chen moved quickly, submitting a formal complaint to the State Bar Association and notifying James's firm that she was taking over our case. The response was immediate. A senior partner called me personally to apologize and assure me they were conducting an internal investigation. Mr. Whitfield has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome, he said. We want you to know that his actions do not reflect the values of our firm. I couldn't help but laugh. Your firm's values include sleeping with clients' spouses. Good to know. The partner stuttered an apology. I hung up on him. Amanda continued her campaign for reconciliation, alternating between desperate pleas and periods of silence that I suspected were strategic attempts to make me miss her. She sent emails detailing how miserable she was without me, how she couldn't eat or sleep, how she'd ended things with James the moment I discovered the affair. I didn't respond to any of them. Meanwhile, my physical recovery continued. I pushed myself harder in therapy, fueled by a new determination to regain my independence. The pain was still there, but it had become a companion rather than an enemy, something to acknowledge and work through, not something to fear. My therapist, a no-nonsense woman named Deanne, noticed the change. You're different, she observed during a particularly grueling session. More focused. I have a reason to get better now, I said, not elaborating. She nodded, not pressing for details. Whatever works, but don't overdo it. Healing takes time. Time was something I had plenty of. My former employer had replaced me while I was still in the hospital, offering a modest severance package that barely covered 2 months of bills. The insurance from the trucking company was tied up in litigation. My savings were dwindling rapidly. Patricia assured me we'd win the case. The evidence is overwhelming, she said. And now with the Whitfield situation, they're even more motivated to settle quickly and quietly. How quickly? Hard to say. A few months at least, but I'm pushing for an expedited process given your financial situation. A few months seemed like an eternity. My brother insisted I stay with him rent-free, but I hated being dependent on anyone. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd resented Amanda for growing tired of caring for me, yet I couldn't stand being cared for by my brother either. "It's different," he said when I tried to explain. "You're my brother, it's temporary, and you're not expecting me to pretend everything's fine when it's not." He had a point. Amanda had maintained the fiction of the supportive wife while secretly resenting every minute of it. At least my brother and I were honest with each other. 3 weeks after leaving home, I received an unexpected visitor. James Whitfield himself, standing awkwardly on my brother's front porch when I opened the door. He looked different than I remembered, diminished somehow, his perfect appearance slightly frayed at the edges. His suit was still expensive, but his tie was crooked and a shadow of stubble darkened his jaw. "Michael," he said, his voice faltering as he took in my appearance. I knew how I looked, thinner, harder, eyes cold with hatred. I slammed the door in his face. He knocked again, more insistently. "Please, 5 minutes. I owe you an explanation." I yanked the door open. "You owe me nothing. You've already taken everything that mattered." "That's not true. I made a terrible mistake, but..." "A mistake is forgetting a client's name or missing a filing deadline. You fucked my wife repeatedly. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." He flinched at my language but didn't back down. "I know. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I've withdrawn from your case entirely. I've recommended another attorney at the firm, someone with more experience in personal injury cases. She'll get you a better settlement than I could have." I laughed harshly. "Too late. I've hired my own counsel, someone who doesn't need to sleep with their clients' spouses to feel powerful." I deserved that. He looked down at his perfectly polished shoes. "For what it's worth, Amanda loves you. What happened between us was a distraction, meaningless." Is that supposed to make me feel better, that my wife betrayed me for something meaningless? No, I suppose not. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you, not a bribe, not hush money, just something to help until the settlement comes through." I didn't take it. "Keep your money, I don't want anything from you. Please consider it a partial repayment for fucking my wife. There's not enough money in the world, James." He nodded slowly, returned the envelope to his pocket. "I understand. I'll be leaving the firm regardless of the ethics committee's decision, moving to Colorado to start over." "Running away, you mean? Call it what you want. I've destroyed my career and hurt people I was supposed to help. I can't stay here." I felt a twisted satisfaction at his admission. "What about Amanda? Taking her with you?" He looked genuinely surprised. "No, God no, it was never about that. She loves you. She made a mistake because I took advantage of her vulnerability. Blame me, not her." "I blame both of you." I started to close the door, then stopped. "Did she send you here?" "No, she has no idea I came, but she's suffering, Michael. She's falling apart without you." "Good," I said and shut the door in his face. The ethics complaint against James moved slowly through the system. Patricia kept me updated on its progress, as well as on our case against the trucking company. The latter was proceeding well, better than expected, in fact. The company's lawyers, eager to avoid a public trial that might coincide with the scandal involving James, were becoming increasingly amenable to settlement discussions. "They've offered $2 million, Patricia told me during one of our weekly calls. "That's $500,000 more than their last offer." "Is it enough? For your medical expenses, ongoing therapy, loss of income, pain, and suffering, it's in the ballpark. We could push for more, go to trial, but that would mean at least another year of litigation." I considered my options. $2 million would allow me to pay off all my medical bills, buy a new, more accessible house, and have enough left over to retrain for a different career. It wouldn't give me back my health or my marriage, but it would give me a chance at a new start. "Let's take it," I decided. "I want this over with." Patricia sounded surprised. "Are you sure? We might get more if we hold out." "I'm sure. The money isn't the point anymore. I just want to move on." She was silent for a moment. "I understand. I'll start the paperwork." The divorce proceedings were moving along in parallel. Amanda had finally stopped trying to reconcile and had hired an attorney of her own. A young, aggressive woman who initially demanded half of any settlement I might receive from the trucking company. "She's entitled to it," her lawyer argued during our first mediation session. "The accident happened during the marriage, and she provided extensive care during your recovery." Patricia, who was representing me in the divorce as well as the personal injury case, practically snarled in response. And then abandoned him for another man when things got difficult. A man who, I remind you, was Mr. Lawson's attorney at the time. "I suggest you reconsider your position unless you want this case to become very public and very ugly." The threat worked. Amanda's lawyer quickly reduced her demands to a more reasonable division of our existing assets, leaving the settlement money out of the equation entirely. I was surprised by Amanda's willingness to back down. When I mentioned it to Patricia, she gave me a knowing look. She feels guilty, Michael. She should. Use that to your advantage. I wasn't sure how I felt about leveraging Amanda's guilt, but I was past caring about fairness or moral high ground. I just wanted freedom from the pain, from the betrayal, from the constant reminders of what I'd lost. The settlement came through on a Tuesday, almost exactly 7 months after the accident. After Patricia's fees and taxes, I was left with just over $1.4 million. A life-changing amount by any measure, though not quite the fortune it might seem given the ongoing medical expenses I'd face for years to come. The divorce was finalized a month later. Amanda received the house, which she immediately put up for sale, her car, and a small portion of our savings. I kept my car, my personal belongings, and the entirety of the settlement. It was, as these things go, a relatively clean break. I didn't see Amanda at the final hearing. Our lawyers handled everything, and the judge signed off on our agreement without either of us needing to appear in person. It felt strangely anticlimactic. 8 years of marriage ended with the stroke of a pen in our absence. Later that day, I received a text from an unknown number. "It's final. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me." I didn't respond, but I didn't block the number either. Some small, wounded part of me wanted to keep that line open, though I couldn't have explained why. The ethics committee finally reached its decision on James 9 months after my complaint was filed. His license was suspended for 2 years, with reinstatement contingent upon completing an ethics course and performing 200 hours of pro bono legal work. The firm had already asked for his resignation, which he'd provided without protest. Patricia called to give me the news. "It's better than we expected," she said. "These committees tend to protect their own. 2 years is a significant suspension." "He'll still be a lawyer when it's over," I pointed out. "Yes, but his reputation is permanently damaged. No reputable firm will hire him with this on his record. He'll have to go into solo practice, probably in another state." I thought about James's mention of Colorado, wondered if he'd followed through on his plan to leave. Not that it mattered. He was out of my life just as Amanda was. With the legal battles behind me, I found myself at loose ends. My physical recovery had plateaued. I would always walk with a limp, always feel pain in cold weather or after standing too long. But I was mobile, independent, no longer confined to my brother's guest room or dependent on painkillers to get through the day. I bought a small house in a neighboring town, a modern one-story with wide doorways and an accessible bathroom. I adopted a dog from the local shelter, a 3-legged German Shepherd mix named Max who'd been hit by a car himself. We made a pair, the two of us, limping around the neighborhood each morning in a slow but determined routine. 6 months into my new life, I received an unexpected email from Amanda. The subject line was simple: closure. "I'm moving to Seattle next month," she wrote. "New job, new start. Before I go, I wanted to give you something." The attached file is a letter I wrote to the ethics committee about James. I sent it after their decision, so it didn't affect the outcome, but I thought you should know that I didn't stay silent. I held him accountable for his part in what happened. It won't change anything between us, I know that, but maybe it will help you understand that I never stopped loving you, even when I was hurting you the most. Goodbye, Michael. Be happy. Attached was a 3-page letter detailing James's predatory behavior, how he'd specifically targeted her vulnerability, suggested their meetings always take place when I was medicated or at therapy, manipulated her feelings of isolation and burnout. She didn't absolve herself of responsibility, but she painted a clear picture of a powerful man taking advantage of a situation for his own gratification. I read it twice, then closed my laptop and took Max for a long walk. I wasn't sure what I felt, not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the first glimmer of understanding. Amanda had been weak, selfish, but so had I in my own way, retreating into my pain and shutting her out when she needed me to let her in. That night, I wrote back a single line: "Thank you for telling the truth. Good luck in Seattle." She didn't respond, and I didn't expect her to. We had said all there was to say. A year to the day after the video arrived in my inbox, I started my new job as a patient advocate at the same hospital where I'd spent so many weeks in recovery. The position had been created specifically for me after I'd volunteered there for several months, helping newly injured patients navigate the labyrinthine healthcare system and providing a sympathetic ear from someone who'd been where they were. My first official client was a young woman named Claire, 27 years old, who'd lost her right leg in a motorcycle accident. She was angry, depressed, convinced her life was over. Her fiancé had already postponed their wedding indefinitely, unable to cope with her new reality. He says he needs time, she told me, eyes blazing with a mixture of pain and fury. Time to adjust, time to figure out if he can handle this. I nodded, remembering my own anger, my own sense of betrayal at Amanda's gradual withdrawal. That's hard, feeling abandoned when you need support the most. Did your wife stick around? Claire asked bluntly. I considered lying, offering the platitude she clearly needed to hear. Instead, I gave her the truth. No, she found comfort elsewhere. We're divorced now. Claire's face fell. So there's no hope. He's going to leave me too. I can't predict that. Every relationship is different. I leaned forward in my chair. But I can tell you this, what happened to me made me stronger. Not right away, not without pain and grief and rage, but eventually. I don't want to be alone, she whispered. You're not. You have family, friends, a whole team of people here who want to help, and you have me for whatever that's worth. She managed a small smile. The three-legged guy with the three-legged dog. Yeah, big comfort, I laughed, genuinely amused by her gallows humor. We make it work. Max doesn't complain about what he's lost. He just enjoys what he has. Wise dog. Wiser than his owner, I admitted, but I'm learning. After our session, I took Max for our usual evening walk. The air was crisp with the promise of autumn, leaves beginning to turn on the trees lining my street. My leg ached, but I pushed through it, matching my pace to Max's awkward but determined gait. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my brother, checking in as he did every few days. I typed a quick response, assuring him I was fine, agreeing to dinner that weekend. As I tucked the phone away, I caught my reflection in a store window. I looked different than I had a year ago, thinner, grayer at the temples, lines at the corners of my eyes that hadn't been there before. But there was something else too, something less tangible but more significant. A steadiness, perhaps. A hard-won equilibrium. The video that had arrived in my inbox at 3 a.m. had destroyed my marriage, ended my career, and forced me to rebuild my life from the ground up. But it had also freed me from illusions. About Amanda, about myself, about the fragility of the life we think we've secured. I whistled for Max, who had stopped to investigate something interesting in the grass. He looked up, his scarred face alert and happy, then limped over to my side. Together, we continued our uneven but determined progress down the street towards home.